Welcome to the Bookshelf Odyssey. My name is Art, and I'll be doing the Atwood Adventure Tag. I was tagged by Alice in the Giant Bookshelf, and I was tagged way back in February, I think it was. It's been a while anyway. I am really behind on getting to these things, but no stress, no worries, right? This is a tag created by Jolene at the Bookworm Adventure Girl channel, and I feel strange doing a tag video for an author that I haven't read before, but I really like these questions. So, I've heard of her books before, but I haven't read them yet. Here we go. The first question is, before publishing her first collection of poetry in the early 60s, Margaret Atwood had several other jobs, including working at summer camps. What was your first job? And my first official job that I got paid for, well, I had to file taxes for and everything, was I was working at a grocery store and started off as the bag boy or courtesy clerk, I think they called them then, and basically bagged groceries. And I loved it. It was fun. Really enjoyable job working at the store, and worked there for about a couple years before I went to college. But I would do odd jobs here and there before that, just ways to earn a little money here and there. And what I would usually do is if somebody paid me cash or something for like mowing the yard, then I would go to the bookstore and spend it all. So basically, as an adult, I'm just older, pretty much the same as I was when I was a kid. Question 2. While growing up, Margaret Atwood's family spent several months each year living in the bush in northern Ontario. What is a survival skill that you have that would help you survive living off the grid? Well, I know how to use a cell phone, so I could call for help. There's that, right? I love reading books about people who survive in the wilderness. So I've read several. So I think, somewhere in my head, I might have the knowledge to know what to do, or at least what not to do. I know not to get between a bear and her cubs. I know that there are some plants you can eat and some plants that you can't eat. So be very careful, but I don't know which ones are which. I know that if your feet get wet over a long period of time, they'll start to rot. And that's about it. So yeah, if we're stuck in the woods together, I'm hoping you sure know what to do, because yeah, we're going to be sunk otherwise. Question 3 says, Margaret Atwood grew up reading comic books. Do you have a favorite comic book or comic book character? And I love that. I love that question. And I love that she grew up reading comic books. So I love comic book movies. I grew up on Michael Keaton's Batman, and loved, I love the recent, in my mind, golden age of MCU movies coming out and TV shows. I have loved every single one of them. Even Thor 2, okay? I was familiar with some of the main characters of comic books, like Superman, Batman, that sort of thing. But I never really read a lot of comic books, mostly because I couldn't afford to buy them as a kid. But I enjoyed the movies more, I think. And I never really got the how and why of reading a comic book. I did get a handful of them as a young teenager, and I read a lot of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comic books. I had a stack of a few of them, but overall, yeah, my comic book reading isn't that great. And same with graphic novels. I don't really find myself drawn to that medium. But that's just me in the way I like to read. If I had a favorite comic book character today, it probably wouldn't be anything original or creative. Just the usual Spider-Man, DC's Batman's. I like the main characters, but partly that's what's been fun about the MCU is that they're exploring now characters I have no idea about. Like Moon Knight is a recent one, and I've never even heard of that comic before, and so I am experiencing it like I'm reading it for the first time, and that's been a blast. Question 4. Margaret Atwood is not only a poet and author, she has also illustrated books and shown her creativity in so many other ways. What are some ways that you are creative? Again, I like to draw and to paint. I've enjoyed doing that even since I was a kid. My grandma and grandpa got me an art book when I was young, probably around 7 or 8. They got it for me for Christmas and really taught me some of the basics of drawing. And I have really enjoyed letting that be like just a lifelong hobby. I love to watch Bob Ross and fall asleep to his Joy of Painting episodes. I've even been able to sell some of my paintings and some of my ornaments I've painted and different things that are on my Christmas podcast. Just some ways to make it a side hustle, as it were. I'm not getting rich off of it. In fact, I probably have still spent more podcasting than I've earned podcasting, but that's okay. But yeah, I like to do that. And then transferring that love of drawing and creating to podcasting has been really enjoyable, because then I can use a program like Canva and learn how to do graphic design of like show logos and podcast art and different things like that. That is a new experience for me. And so I'm learning more of how that works and how to do that. So that's been enjoyable. Question 5. Some of Margaret Atwood's writing is inspired by myths, folk tales, and fairy tales. What is your favorite myth, folk tale, or fairy tale, and why? I don't know if I have one. I don't really read a lot of them other than how I view them through like Disney movies or something. So, based on that, I really, I enjoyed Beauty and the Beast because of its focus on books, but it's problematic in some parts. I really liked the other Disney movie, Tangled. Or is that Disney? Yeah, I think that's Disney. And that's based on the Rapunzel fairy tale. It's got great music and some pretty fun characters. But yeah, I'm not really big into fairy tales. I expect many of the books I love and read today have their influence based on fairy tales, which were really our early stories. So I'm grateful for the influence they bring, but I'm not a huge fairy tale reader. Question 6. Margaret Atwood's most well-known novel is The Handmaid's Tale. What is a task or chore you wish you had a maid or servant for? Like everything, doing everything, so I can just sit around and read and podcast. Specifically, I would want to do something, along with like the outside chores, cleaning the house, mowing the grass, maintaining our vehicles, things like that. I just don't enjoy doing, and I always put them off to the last minute. So having somebody to do that for me would be wonderful. But I wouldn't want them to be in servitude. Obviously I'd want to pay them and all that, not force them to do it. Question 7. The themes Margaret Atwood writes about have stayed consistent in all her writing for over 6 decades. She writes about the role of men and women in society, relationships, religion, marriage, and identity, to name a few. If Atwood were to write a novel about you, what are some themes she would need to include? Oh, goodness. Well, obviously, a big theme for me would be literature. I think religion would be one. That's something I'm religious, and my faith is very important to me. Again, marriage and family are themes that are important to me. Question 8. Margaret Atwood has created words for her novels. She has talked about how this makes it difficult for translators of her work. Do you have a favorite word, and why is it your favorite? I never really thought of that before. I have words I use a lot, but that's more of a verbal tick. I suppose my favorite word would be something like coffee, because I love coffee, or book, because, hey, I love books. You know how if you have a pet, like a dog, and you tell them it's time to go for a walk, they know the word walk and they get all excited? Well, if somebody said book to me and, like, hey, book, you want a book? I'd get excited like a dog, right? Okay, wag my tail and everything. But yeah, I don't know if I really have a favorite word in the sense that they're asking. Question 9. Margaret Atwood was born in Canada and lives in Canada now, but she has also lived in other countries like the United States, England, France, Germany, and Scotland. What countries have you lived in, and or what is another country you would like to live in? I have only lived in the United States. I've lived out on the West Coast in Washington, and I'm living right now in Iowa in the Midwest. I have never been outside of the United States. I haven't even been to Canada, which to me counts as a foreign country, but I had a friend who said that doesn't count anyway. I would love to travel the world sometimes. I know it's such a cliche dream, but it's true. There are so many beautiful places out there that I want to see and experience. But I think if I could choose to live somewhere else, I would choose to live in England. I know partly I probably have romanticized this idea of living over there and all that because of the Victorian literature I read a lot of, and some of my favorite writers come from England. But that's why I want to live there, is because I want a chance to go and see these historical places and museums and culture that I've read so much about but haven't experienced yet. So that would be a dream place if I could live anywhere. But if money were no option, I would probably just want to buy my own little island somewhere, and just have my own secret hideaway and just live my days reading books and drinking coffee. And that sounds like heaven to me. So there's a couple answers for you. And then question 10, Margaret Atwood is an advocate for caring for the earth. What is something you do to help care for our planet? Oh, ouch. My wife is definitely trying to recycle, and she's trying to help me to remember to recycle, because I just don't think about it. I empty a can, I'll throw it in the garbage, and she'll say, "No, this goes here. This goes here." So I appreciate that. But I actually try to support our local parks, and we have a state park that is not too far from us. So it's a beautiful little place, and I know that even by just going and using its resources, you help support their existence. There's another county park not too far from us, and you have to pay to go into, and so I make sure to buy an annual pass there when I can, and just go and hike and enjoy the nature that they have preserved. I mean, in all seriousness, I think it is important for us to take care of the earth. I know I need to do better at that. The things I do that aren't so good, driving when I could walk, different things like that, use my bike more. I mean, these are just practical ways that I personally can use to help take care of the earth around, that are just not even an inconvenience, to be honest. Some things I could do better at. Question 11 says, Margaret Atwood is passionate about animal rights, and some of her writing has included animals and reflections on animals. What is the topic that you are passionate about? Oh man, I thought I was going to be able to get through this tag without mentioning Charles Dickens. So sorry for those of you who may have been taking a bet that I could do this. Yeah, I'm very passionate about Charles Dickens and his books, his life, and in specific, and Victorian books in general. I have quite a collection of books about Dickens, as well as books by Dickens. I've read all of his novels. I've read most of his short stories. I've read several of his nonfiction writing, and I have about 2 or 3 shelves of books about Charles Dickens. In fact, I got one just the other day, a new one, and my wife was surprised that A, there was a book about him that I didn't have, and B, that people are still finding things to write about him. But that's probably one of my biggest interests. And secondly, podcasting has really become a passion of mine recently, in just the past year or two. And I've really enjoyed doing my podcasts, and then doing the booktube channel as well. It's been very fulfilling. Like I said previously, just a great outlet for my creativity. Question 12 is, Margaret Atwood is supportive of new authors in a variety of ways. Who is a newer author, and/or what debut novel do you wish more people knew about? Yeah, there was one called A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham, and I talked about that book before on this channel. I really loved that book, and it's actually started me off on a kick of reading several thrillers and mysteries right now. So I'm reading a few others at the moment, like Unmissing by Minka Kent, and The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware, are both I've read because I just kind of got in the mood after reading that book by Stacey Willingham. So I think that was her debut novel that just came out, and so I'm really excited to see what she's going to write next. And then a newer author that I had a chance to meet, and I'll be actually interviewing the author on one of my on the podcast coming up soon, and that is Darcy Hannah. I don't know if she technically counts as a new author though, because she has written some stuff in the past, but her series of she writes cozy mysteries, the Beacon Bake Shop mystery series, about this woman named Lindsay who starts a bakery and lives in a lighthouse in Michigan. The day she opens her bakery, there's a dead body and all that good stuff. So all the things you come to expect in a cozy mystery. But it's a great series. I really have enjoyed it. Something completely different on the other end of the mystery spectrum from a book like A Flicker in the Dark. But hey, I like both. So that works for me. Question 13 says to tag someone in the video, but I won't do that. I know this tag has already gone around quite a bit and I'm just slow to the game. But Alice, thank you so much for tagging me. If you don't follow Alice's channel, that's linked below. Please go and follow her. And I've really enjoyed getting to know her over BookTube. We had a great buddy read together of Ray Bradbury, of one of his short story collections, The Illustrated Man. And that was my first buddy read. So I'll always remember Alice and Mitzi. Mitzi reads and writes for doing that buddy read with me. Thank you for tagging me in this. This was fun. Another video, just a little way to get to know me more and know my channel more. So thank you for watching. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe and do all that. Hit the bell notification, etc., etc., etc. And I'll see you next time. And so until then, just keep reading and take care.